What's going on, everybody? We are back. I don't know if we can still call this the Next Up podcast because one of us truly was next up, one of us was not. So it is Josh, aka the Mosa Muscle, coming at you with what we'll still call the Next Up podcast for now, with my co-host. I'm doing your introduction, Colin Marco, aka Cousin Creamy, aka Mr. IFBB Pro. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Now we are going to get into this as this show is going to be about our boy Cousin Creamy. Now, I don't know how long this one's going to go, nor does it matter, but we are going to do a little bit of a recap on the season. We are not going to talk about my season. In this episode, maybe next episode, or a couple episodes later we will. But for right now, we're just talking about Colin. So, Colin, talk to us a little bit about prep. 13 weeks from the start of prep to junior USA's, correct?
Well,
12. So, Colin went through a 12-week prep. How much weight did you lose from start to finish?
I lost 37 pounds.
37 pounds in 12 weeks comes out to about 3 pounds a week. So it was a pretty fast rate of loss. How did you feel during that time?
For about the first, I'd say 5 weeks, it was smooth sailing. Weight was kind of flying off. I hit that middle 6 week mark and I was just zombie. I think that 6th week I dropped like 7 pounds in the week. And that point forward, I turned into a fucking zombie.
Okay. I think that's to be expected at that point. Once the weight really starts flying off, you just feel like you're shot. So I don't want to get into like how you placed, your mindset going into it first. I just kind of want to go through like the beginning of prep. So like when it comes down to it, how was your training affected? Did you make any changes from start of prep to the end of prep? Um, like let's just go through like what was your approach in the beginning of prep, mentally in the training, um, even all the way up and through like last couple weeks before junior USA's. We're not going to go into junior Nats just yet.
So nothing changed training wise. I was big tops at back off. Um, in the peak of my off season, I was doing more top sets just for the sake of volume. I could handle the recovery aspect of things, and then I pushed that into prep. So Jack only really had me doing one top set, and it was either one or two back offs. And unannounced, I guess I had never really told him, but in all honesty, it was more so like I know my body. But regardless, I did a lot of two top sets, one back off, even like two top sets, two back offs, on specific movements. But again, that's dependent on days. On leg day, it was one and done usually. Like my hack, I just always did one top set. I never really ever did a back off, nor did I ever feel like I needed it.
I'll
But
stop
like
you right
back,
there.
yeah,
What do you define as a top set versus a back off set? Because I think everyone has a little bit varying ideologies when it comes to that.
yeah.
So,
So for me, I'll work within a rep range of anywhere from like 6 to 10 on my top sets. Like 6 to 12, I guess I would say is probably a better range. But again, I would go top set, meaning my heaviest weight of said working set, and just balls to the wall. So again, when it comes to doing like top set back off, I'm not doing specifically like three working sets. I'll always have 4 or 5 feeder sets going into the top movement. So I'll do like 3 to 4 reps per weight just to make sure it feels good, make sure the joints are good. And then that top set, it'll just be, bury yourself kind of set. So it'll be anywhere from 6 to 10 reps, usually 6 to 12 on other movements. But the heaviest weight that I'll be utilizing that I can, again, keep form in a good spot, kind of throw some weight around. And then from there, my back off would be probably a 25 to 30% back off. Usually that's a lot more than some people would say is ideal. For me personally, I just wanted more connection. So I do like 25 to 30% of a back off. And then from there, I'd sit anywhere from like 15 to 20 reps, 12 to 20 reps in that rep range. Again, it's more of just shuttling nutrients, blood, and all that kinds of stuff, really making sure my form is good and just burning the ever-living hell out of whatever muscle group I'm using that day.
Gotcha. So when you say top set and you say two top sets, those were both to failure, the back up set to
Yeah.
failure or not to failure?
But yeah, everything in this training that I did through prep was always a failure. And again, that probably played into the whole fatigue management idea. But realistically, I couldn't give less of a shit about fatigue management. I had a goal in mind. So at the end of the day, I knew I was going to get to the point where I'd be dragging ass. But that's just part of the process. If you're not dragging ass, you're not doing shit right.
100% agree. I've been ranting a little bit about fatigue management in the gym recently, just simply because I don't believe that if you're walking around plus 15% body fat, you're really experiencing fatigue just simply because your body has the calories to pull from the stored fat on your body. So,
Yeah. I mean, and to kind of little veer off on that topic, um, you're a little kinder than I am. I even say 10. Yeah, you're pretty lean, but you still got shit to lose. Yeah, you're going to be a bit tired, but that also depends on your starting point. So if you're starting from like 25%, you get to like 15, yeah, you're going to be fucking shot. But if you're doing shit proper and you've had, a good off season, you're doing everything, keeping it tidy, realistically, until you hit that like 10% mark where you're pretty fucking peeled, I mean, I just don't think that you can use the excuse of fatigue management because realistically you still have enough fat on your body to pull in which the energy on like you have enough fat on your body in which that your body should be able to recover and it has energy to pull from where you're not, you know, let's say fucking 8 weeks out and you're like, oh dude, I'm so fucking tired. And it's like, what? Like sleep better. Like that's how you're gonna manage that one. Just get better sleep. Stop fucking staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning and make an excuse that prep's hard.
you still have that energy reserve. Your food realistically shouldn't be deathly low. Some people, it does kind of happen, but like you should be able to manage that. Now, from there, cardio. How high did cardio get? How long was cardio in? I know the answer to this question, so I hate even asking it. But cardio at the start of prep, cardio at like the middle of prep, and then your last like 4 weeks.
So cardio at the beginning was minimal at best. I mean, 15, no, 10 on a training day, 25 on a rest day. I think the max it got to on a rest day, because obviously that would be the majority of your cardio, at least for myself, it was 30, 30, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
35 was like absolute peak. Like 35 might have been pushing it, but I'm pretty sure it was 30 was the highest it ever got. 12K steps per day, and with what I do for work, I was doing probably like 18K. So, I mean, again, it's not something that I was purposefully, you know, demolishing my step count. But with that said, if I'm doing anything over 15,000 steps a day, plus cardio, plus training, that's plenty of expenditure to get absolutely peeled inside and out in, a duration of time.
Oh, do you want to talk ancillaries?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. So starter prep. Again, I have some background information here, so I already know. We you implemented a relatively newer compound. It's not fully through its research phases yet, but we are research chemists at the end of the day, so it works out. Experimenting on our pet rats and such, Delilah. But talk about it a little bit.
So
How much of a game changer was it? How much do you feel like it benefited you? And then you could also drop it as GLP-3, not the name,
yeah.
because we don't want to get actually in trouble for shit. So
So hypothetically speaking, if I did use it, it most certainly was something that was a definite game changer. And I do credit it a lot to the fat loss. Don't get me wrong. Again, triple agonist. It's working on that third receptor, most specifically. Um, and it was something in which that it made losing everything a lot more effortless, especially in the beginning, I will say. In the beginning, it made it a lot more effortless. And specifically for me, I'm a very food focused individual in which that, I hit a certain point and my food noise goes through the fucking roof and I can't handle it. Um, it's just to the point where I look at food and then all of a sudden, oh, that's all I think about every single day. I look forward to my next meal. I look forward to this. I crave this. I crave that. With this in place, it wasn't a thing. It completely shut that out where I could walk around a grocery store and not stick my nose in the muffins every single time I went there. Not walk down the cereal aisle or the chip aisle and leave a fucking trail of saliva behind me as I'm drooling because all I want is to eat this. It made it very simplistic, made it very easy. And it was weird because there's people in a good majority of the human beings, um, they live like this and their cravings aren't a thing. And it made it a lot easier for that sake. But also, when it came to the fat loss side of things, I feel like it made it a lot easier because besides working on the whole, you know, hunger and appetite, it also worked under the hood, like mitochondrial energy. It was something in which that it helped a lot with impulse control. It helped a lot with decision making, cognitive sharpness. So again, everyone can say GLP-3. It was very much something where it's like, oh, you cheated or you did this, or it's just a tool that we utilize in our day to day basis. And yeah, I absolutely guinea pigged the ever living piss out of this. But in all things considered,
Hypothetically.
yeah, hypothetically speaking, I just feel as if why am I going to make it harder on myself when this is already a very hard sport? And I will say, don't get me wrong, the fatigue thing, it's still a thing. You're not going to be hungry, but you're going to be fucking tired. I had 6 weeks out and I was dragging ass. And, this is going to ruffle a lot of competitive feathers, being that I didn't do cardio for the back half of my prep. We did 6 weeks worth of cardio and then we pulled it. And I did not do cardio 4 weeks out of junior USAs and then 7 weeks out of junior nats. At that point, it was purely steps.
And as you said, you were kind of abusing that step count just because of your job in general. So
Yeah, exactly.
it that added expenditure definitely was going to turn around. And once your body kind of starts getting rolling with the fat loss, it's just going to continue to roll unless you give it a reason not to. So aggressive refeeds, kind of saying fuck the training, fuck the cardio, all that stuff is going to limit that ability to output or limit that ability to burn fat. Once it gets rolling, it gets rolling. So now let's talk junior USAs. Going into junior USAs, how confident were you? How were you feeling? Um, for those who don't know, junior USAs and classic physique is a top two win a pro card. So how are you feeling going into it? Was there any mental stuff going on like prior to, or like what, just a little bit of your outlook going into that show?
Yeah, no, there was I was very confident. I loved my look. I was peeled inside and out. I felt like that was my best look of the season, funny enough. But I loved everything. Everything was very smooth sailing into it. It was obviously the smoothest prep I've ever had. I mentally was very confident, but at the same time, I didn't let my thoughts get the best of me and think like I'm just going to walk through this class. It's not even going to be a. It's going to be a great showing. It's not even going to be competition. It was just I knew I was at my best, and that's all I could have done. So it was for me. I was very. There was a lot of mental clarity for myself, which I was very appreciative that I didn't really dive into the realm of cockiness or letting my emotions get the best of me. So I was, like I said, very confident, very happy, very pleased going into the show. And it was the best I've probably ever felt mentally going into a show where, again, I wasn't researching who was going to be there. I wasn't researching, this guy's going to be there, this judge, this, that. I took kind of all the variables out and just kind of let the cards fall into place at that point.
Gotcha. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. How do we place at junior USAs? What was your what was your feeling afterwards? How big was your class? Um, and then just like, what do you think went right? What do you think went wrong? Not trying to bash anybody or turn around and say like,
Yeah.
oh, Jack did this or Jack did that. It's like, no, what do you think personally went right? What do you personally think went wrong? What could you have improved upon for that showing to make sure that you took the class? So,
Yeah, the honestly, I can't really necessarily say anything went wrong. Um, there wasn't no like, there wasn't like an early week spill, there wasn't a sickness, there was nothing that went necessarily wrong. It was simply I just didn't get the placing nor I expected, nor did anyone really expect. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, the judging panel, this, it is what it is. I mean, again, Tyler saw something that day that he didn't like and didn't want, and he put me on the outside of that group and didn't move me. But I placed top fifth, top five. I placed fifth. So at that point in time, it was my best showing at a pro qual, which I was still happy about. I was very grateful about the placing. There were some really good competitors. I'm not going to take away from the competitors who won or who placed ahead of me. There was definitely some competitors, but again, from a very objective eye, around some of the coaches that I've talked to, around some of my people in my corner, they have me higher, and again, it's great. It makes me feel good, but at the same time, it doesn't really fucking matter because at the end of the day, they're not placing me. Tyler placed me, so it is what it is. Mentally, I was pretty checked out after that one because I knew I was at my best, and that stung a shitload. So it took a lot to get me to compete again that season. I didn't really talk to Jack about it, to be completely honest. We had a brief conversation, but it wasn't anything. I didn't really spill the true mental atrophy that kind of took on me, just because I was pretty beat up after that show. I went out with my girlfriend, had a meal, and just like walked around Charleston and just kind of reflected. And then the next day, I was by myself driving up to see my parents, and I did a lot more self reflection. Obviously, 2.5 hours by yourself, all you're gonna do is self reflect. And then, I talked to my mom, talked to my parents, and they are probably one of, if not the biggest reason I did compete in Chattanooga. So, like I said, to make a very long story short, it was very demoralizing to say the least. To say that I improved one placing in a year, to go from sixth at Universe to go to fifth at Junior USA's with a vastly improved package, but it it is what it is, and I mean, and again, to kind of piggyback, and I piggyback to finish the question was, what could I have improved on? It realistically was posing. I mean, and fullness, I think, with the two things. Um, some poses I know we changed up pretty drastically, which helped, provide more thickness through my back, a better overall flow of my physique rather than cutting off certain areas and trying to accentuate one to take away from another. That was a big thing we did.
move your feet in
And
closer,
what's up?
moving your feet in closer.
Well, it was more of like on my front double, my leg, like my place legs, instead of having them too close to take away from the sweeps, have them a bit out further, but kick my toes out to flare my adductors, so there's like a lot more fullness there. But then also the big one, which honestly I feel like was a huge W, was on my back shot, my back double was what we talked about. What you tried doing with me the night prior to the show is kicking my glutes into a neutral position. And even if I wasn't able to flare my adductors, it was giving the appearance that I had a much thicker back. If I really squeeze the shit out of my glutes, obviously my glutes are peeled out inside and out. But if I do that and I don't move my glutes into a neutral position, it takes away from my back, where I have like a good 8 inches between my lower lats and then where my trunks sit. So it's just so much room that is just exposed. Whereas when I kick my glutes back, it shrinks it by like a good 3 or 4 inches, and it just
Mhm.
provides so much more thickness. So I think that was a big one for me, especially with going to this next show because again, even the guys at the next show, it wasn't a walk in the park. I still had to show up and do my thing, but at the same time, it provided a lot better of a look, a lot fuller, a lot more complete, I think I would like to say.
Absolutely. And just as a little tip for anybody watching this, a little posing tip. If you tuck your pelvis all the way underneath you, your adductors no longer will be visible from the back. So if you push your butt all the way up, you're not going to be able to have striated glutes. So you find that middle position to where your adductors are still able to kind of touch each other. Colin, as we already know, has gigantic legs. So the fact that he could tuck his pelvis all the way underneath and then his legs didn't touch never made sense. So when he was able to kick his butt back just a little bit, his adductors still touched. And because he was peeled out, his glutes were still in. It made the legs look that much fuller. It decreased that gap between his lower back and his lower lat. And therefore, the entire shot, he just looked more filled out. So I'm definitely not going to take the time to crop that in here like a before and after, but that's the idea behind what we're kind of talking about. So you have to play around with it. You have to realistically, I would say for anybody trying to figure that out, get into a back double and start a video and tuck your butt all the way underneath you, push it all the way out, and then find like a happy medium and see what looks best on your specific physique.
Yep.
If you are in a classic, technically your shorts or your trunks are supposed to cover your glutes completely. So you kind of could push your butt out more, but anyone who does that kind of looks like they're wearing a diaper on stage. So, pull them into your crack a little bit.
Yeah, and a little tip for new competitors too. If you got big ass glutes and you got peeled glutes, go on
Oh,
and find yourself like 2-inch pro cut trunks in the NPC. They say you're not allowed to have anything less than 4. If you wear 4, you might as well just be wearing tighty whities on stage. It's just how it is. I personally got 2-inch fucking cut, and nobody says shit to you about it.
yeah. Just don't show up out of shape if you do that.
Yeah, it's a
Just
fact.
don't be that guy. All right. So I vividly remember calling you probably about 3 or 4 days after that show.
Yep.
Um, and I remember your headspace was not in a great spot. You
Yeah.
were pretty much saying you didn't really want to do junior nats, but I had committed to doing junior nats and Bree had committed to doing junior nats. So you were going to do it anyway. You didn't care how you placed. You just wanted to improve. And I yelled at you
Yes, you did.
because I don't believe in that. You don't show up to just show up. You show up to win. Um, which is even funnier based off of how I placed at that show. But, but either way, after that conversation, I vividly remember that your entire kind of headspace around that show completely changed.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you were sitting there in the more little shot there, but like cocky headspace that I was always in, where it was like, I'm taking this thing, I don't care. Um, but I think that your headspace changed. So like, I'm not just showing up to compete. I'm not just showing up to do a little bit better. I'm still showing up to give it everything I got. I know that you started posing harder. I know that you started doing a lot of things just a little bit from where you were at maybe 2 days post show to where you were at 5 days post show. The intensity of everything you were doing just completely flopped. And like me and you talked a little bit less going into that, just because you were locked in. So truthfully, looking at junior nats,
Yeah.
we all know anyone who looks at it, you had a 6-man lineup or 6-man lineup, but you had one. It was one pro card, so you had to win the class. When you were when we were backstage, I remember I went and looked at the sheet. I started looking up some of the guys in my class. You didn't do any of that, and I think that probably was more beneficial for you just simply because you didn't think about it whatsoever. But explain to me from the moment that you got into your class lineup to getting on stage, how did you feel? What were you thinking? What was going through your head? Where were you mentally?
So to backtrack, I didn't mean it as a shot to you.
I,
Um,
you know me, I don't take anything seriously. So
no, I know, but I'm just saying. Um, honestly, it was Junior USA's. To put a little behind the scenes, I I remember Junior USA's, but like then again, I couldn't sleep the night before. Um, and I decided to take. I definitely told you this. I took two THC gummies because I'm like, I got to go to bed,
mhm.
dude. I was so
The
high
ones
on
from
stage.
Detroit.
Dude, I was so high on stage. I don't remember anything. I was just like, uh, because like I remember getting my tan in the morning, and I'm like, why the fuck do I feel like this? And then I was like, holy shit, I'm fucking stoned. And then I remember going through the whole thing. I showed up for prejudging at 8:45. They go, yo, they're calling you, and I'm like, what? So that was all just a blur, to be honest. But regardless, I just thought that was a funny little input. But going into junior nats, it was, yeah, I looked at the sheet and I'm not gonna lie, I thought about it, like looking up these people, but I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm gonna see them in 10 minutes. Like, what the fuck is it? Nothing's gonna change in 10 minutes. I'm not gonna spill in 10 minutes. I'm not gonna get fuller in 10 minutes. The only thing I'm gonna do is pump up and go pose with them. So it's like, let's meet the boys and let's go have some fun. So I went in with a very carefree, in that sense where I was just like, fuck it, let's go have a fucking time. So did that, walked on stage, and it was different for my class because being that we had a 6-man class, we did comparisons first. Whereas you usually go on for your routine. Oh, no, we did it. What the fuck? It was a little different. We did like a routine, then we did comparisons, and then comparisons we jumped right into
Call
like
outs.
into what?
Call outs.
Yeah, because it was one call out. So it is what it is. But regardless, it was a little different for that sake. But again, like I walked out, and the biggest thing, I was never like, obviously you look at people backstage, but like I didn't analyze. I just, all right, that's what they look like. That's what they look like. And there's the kid in third, blue collar Nick. That's what he is on Instagram. He was a big dude, and I was like kind of shocked that he was in my class because he was taller than me, and I was like, he was like drastically taller than me. So I was like, that's fucking weird. But again, like bubbly physique, and I was like, oh, like this, like probably gonna be looking towards. I was looking at him mostly, and then this other guy, Chris something, one of the black guy. I think he was the only black guy in my class. He was another one where, again, pretty well rounded everywhere. I was like, all right, cool. Like these are probably gonna be like the main gunners of the show. And then, yeah, I mean, we went into mandatories, and the big thing for me is that the 2 weeks I spent, or the 3 weeks I spent in between shows, it was a lot of posing. It was a lot of conditioning, more so just holding vacuums in specific poses, working on transitions. And again, I got up on stage, and the coolest thing was that we had the video screen above us. So
That was so dope.
right, so like when I was doing when I was in my back shots, a good cue for me is that in my back shot, to bring out my lower lats a lot, I have to keep my chest up. I have to look up. What the fuck was I was watching myself post? So I was like, oh, this is fantastic. So I was doing that, and it was a great cue for me. But I knew, like, as soon as I hit those poses, I'm like, okay, those are my shots. Like, I won those shots for sure. So it was cool. It was, like I said, I went on very carefree in the sake of, like, work's done. I'm not going to compare myself. The judges are going to compare us. So went on, had a lot of fun. It was probably one of the best times I've ever spent on stage, just because again, everything flowed, everything felt great, everything felt very natural. Um, and it was something that I really took pride in my work in those 3 weeks to improve upon posing, improve upon the look. And it was something I went into prejudging with a lot of confidence, and knowing that, once we went right into comparisons, right into call outs, it was just the best feeling was we got moved around, but I didn't get moved around. I was the only person in our class that did not move. So everyone around me was, dancing, doing the thing. And of course, you have to stand up there like an asshole and hold a vacuum because, you're not getting moved. So you got to wait 3 minutes in a goddamn vacuum. And thank you for one, thank you, Jack, for fucking ripping my ass apart for not being conditioned and posing because that's all I did for the next 3 weeks from USA's. And yeah, it was nice to know that, I was doing my thing. I was confident in my posing. I was very comfortable on stage and I didn't get moved. And that was the biggest thing because I'm not going to say like I'm a head case when I get moved, but it definitely plays a role. So, like I said, it was a lot more confidence going into it than anything else. And I was just very pleased at everything from posing, appearance, presentation, everything. And especially the individual routines. I've never once been able to finish my individual routine because I run out of time and they gave me extra time to finish my routine. And I was like, and like honestly, if you really think about it, for those that they want to look at, they'll let them finish their routine. So I was like, all right, I've never because I've always timed myself and I've never been able to cut it under 30 without um rushing. And I just took my time, did everything, and then I look back and it was like 36 seconds. I was like, damn, they gave me an extra 6 seconds. That's pretty fucking cool.
I 100% noticed that between junior nats and junior and universe, I didn't finish a routine in 30 seconds at junior nats and kind of hit a pose as I was walking off stage. In universe, I had like extra time and literally just stopped because I was like, I timed this out in my head. I know this 30 seconds. Um, Now, I want to get into probably my favorite part because we got about 6 minutes left and we'll probably cut it a little bit early. So, first and foremost, like, comment, share, subscribe. We're back, baby. We're going to be pushing these things. So, let's get it going. My favorite part was the fact that I got to witness the reaction going into finals. If you don't know, you know if you won or not, pretty much. If you don't know if you won or not, you at least know if you're top five.
Yeah.
So, because only top five does a routine. By the time of finals, I already knew I was not top five. I was in my head like crazy because I came into it thinking I was going to win the entire show. And I have nothing to hide about that. I've said that many, many times. And I remember just sitting there beating myself up for hours nonstop between prejudging and finals. And then watching Colin win his pro card was easily the greatest moment of this season, no matter how else anything else went. I was screaming backstage. I was getting yelled at by the expediters because I was in the wrong spots because I didn't care. I wanted to watch the TV to watch him perform, watch him win his pro card. And then I ran out of line as he came up off stage and he was not allowed to talk to me yet. And I made sure that me and him got probably my favorite picture, which will be the thumbnail of this podcast. And I just got to experience it. So just bring me through the emotions of like you coming off stage with an IFBB Pro card in your hand and just the overwhelming flood. Anyone who hasn't seen the picture, Colin was in tears. There's a picture of him kneeling on the floor and me just kneeling, like bending over and some crops looking at him, turn around and just happy as hell. So like walk him through it, explain a little bit about like your emotions. Try to keep it brief because we got 4 minutes left.
So I mean, all things considered, it's a feeling that's pretty undescribable. Anybody who achieves the pro status, it's something where it's hard to describe. It's funny because in the moment, I won the class and then they didn't bring the pro card out, and I was like, "Yo, do I have to go win this shit in the fucking overall?" So I kind of had a little moment of panic, but I was like, "All right, well, I guess we're going to the overall." But I they brought out the pro card, took my pictures and everything, and it was just like a overwhelming of like I did it, like, and then as soon as I saw you, it was just like pure just emotion and to see how happy you were and like the happiness that I felt, it was just so gratifying to know that again, like I always talk about people in your corner and to know like I have you, I have Bree, I have so many others that are so tightly knit into my corner that you're able to be there and witness it and just be there with me and be there for me. It was something that I was very and forever will be grateful for. But again, it was just like I didn't know how to feel. Like I really didn't. It was just I didn't know how to talk. I couldn't. Like every time I tried talking, I would start crying. It was absurd. Like it's pretty indescribable. But that was even like prejudging. I came off the stage and I came to you, and I'm fucking geeking the fuck out that I just split center in the fucking pro qual. And yeah, it was a hard feeling to describe, but all things considered, it was nothing but straight euphoria. Is probably the easiest way to put it. It was just being very grateful to have everyone there at that point in time, and most specifically have you there, have Bree there, have just everyone who's willing to support what we've been trying to do for so long. And it's something that I will forever cherish and forever be grateful for. And it's something I will never forget in the entirety of my bodybuilding career and my life in general. It's just something that I will never let go of, and it'll be forever ingrained in my brain.
100%. Now, again, this is a question I know the answer to, so I'm going to get into it quick. What do we have post show?
We had ourselves some muffins.
Some fantastic muffins. If anyone doesn't remember, I had muffins pretty much my entire prep, where I was refeeding with muffins and gaining absurd amount of weight off of the back of those muffin refeeds. But after this show, Colin turned around and he had brought some muffins from where he lives, and we had some muffins. And then probably the craziest thing was the day after he had to go and take pictures for the class wins, and then Bree turns around and wins her pro card
Yeah.
right off the back of it. And that was, I mean, I was on the plane. I remember getting off the plane, getting onto a bus, and Colin FaceTiming me, and he was so excited. And it really just it put a cap on the weekend of just being in a really, really good mental spot for like them to being for myself being extremely happy that I was able to turn around and like leave my own shit off to the side and be able to just say like, hey, I got to watch two of my good friends turn around and win pro cards this weekend and just be ecstatic for them. So that was something I was super happy about. We're going to wrap this one. We do have another podcast coming soon, but Colin, thank you. And congratulations again. Next time, we're going to have to show them the pro card because
Yes. Yes, definitely.
So with that said, we're out. Talk to you soon. Peace. I don't know how to end this, man.